November 2nd, 1995, Kentucky excursion with Uncle Dave and Cousin Dave, and we're about to pass over the Ohio River.
I didn't know if you'd seen it when you were looking back there.
Crossing over from Indiana into Kentucky. Oh, look at this.
I don't see any barges. Once in a while you see a barge coming down through here.
Probably get dumped on when we get there. What I tell you.
Town.
Newtown?
Down here, when I used to come with Mom and Dad, none of this stuff was here. The hospital was about a 3-room house.
Is that right?
Uptown. Restaurant that I like over there.
Pretty good stuff, huh?
Good selection. They probably even have French fries for people who can't kick the habit.
Yeah, that's why they moved to Hardee's in here.
Yeah. I think the old school used to set in this area here. That's probably where your mom went to school.
Is that right?
In that area.
Yeah. No doubt.
For sale. Been for sale. Hard to tell them what they want.
ground zero.
Yeah, I don't see any vans with Illinois plates.
What we got here, Uncle Dave?
This is my grandfather, Zachariah Carwile, and his brothers and sisters, as close as we can figure out.
Okay.
Start up in the left top corner. That was his oldest sister, Martha Ann. And going to the right is his sister, Judith. And in the right upper corner, his brother Dan. Starting back on the left side is my grandfather, Zachariah, and his wife, Nancy. And the next picture, the gentleman with the hat on, we suspect that to be his brother, Charles Green, when he was younger. And the picture of the older guy next to him is Charles Green when he was an older man, and his wife, Sally. Down in the left bottom corner, we think that is Zach's sister, Mary, who married George Poole. And to the bottom right corner is his brother, James Henry. And we do not have any pictures of his brother, David C. or George W.
Okay. That's great.
Pictures is my father, Matthias Carwile, and his brothers and sisters. The first picture you're zooming in on there is his oldest sister, Mary Jane. She married James Onan Arms. And the two pictures at the top, we believe that to be some of Mary Jane's family. We haven't really identified all of them yet, but we believe that they are part of her family. And the gentleman with the hat on, right here,
Okay.
we believe that was Mary Jane's husband, James Ona Arms, when he was young. And the picture between Mary Jane and James Ona is my dad's other sister, Mamie,
Okay.
who married Plummer Hall. And on the left side below Mary Jane is my dad's brother, William D. He was known as Buddy. And beside of him is Baker Carwile. His real full name was Ezra Baker Carwile. And the bottom left was his brother, Felix. And then right beside of him, the young boy, was my dad when he was, looks like he's about 10 or 12 years old. And this is a picture of James Franklin Carwile, but I can't identify who he is for sure.
All right. Very good.
Better?
Yep, we're all set.
Hmm?
Yep, we're...
Okay, this set of pictures, we're not 100% sure, but we strongly suspect that the man in the black coat at the top left could possibly be David C. Carwile, who came from Virginia to Kentucky in probably 1825 or 28, somewhere in there. The reason I think that that might be, because these were off of very old tintypes. And if they were in the 1860s or something like that, they would have been on pasteboard. The tintypes go back further than
That's interesting.
pre-Civil War.
Yeah.
And the lady to his right, I suspect somewhat that that might be his wife, Judith. And the small picture in the middle, that was taken off of a tintype also, and I received that from a lady in Virginia, and they thought that that was quite possibly my great-grandfather, William D. Carwile, who would be a son of David and Judith.
Mm-hmm.
The couple at the bottom is believed to be James Henry Carwile and his wife Edith Gregory Carwile. James Henry was a brother to my great-grandfather William D. He left Kentucky in probably around 1860, somewhere in that area. Moved across the river into Indiana, and eventually moved to, I believe the town is Moweagua, Illinois.
Okay.
And he's buried in a family cemetery in Illinois.
Oh, was that right?
Uh-huh. Tintypes. All of these pictures, the four pictures there, are off of tintypes. And there is a somewhat of a resemblance in this man's face and the smaller tintype of who I thought my great-grandfather was, William D. And this could possibly be him and his wife and maybe a couple of his children or a grandchild. I have no way of really knowing for sure, but there is somewhat of a resemblance between him and the other tintype. And to the right of him, there is a resemblance between this man as a young man and the previous picture on the other page of James Henry, who eventually moved to Illinois. And the bottom left, I have no idea who that might be, but he's definitely a Carwile by looking at his eyes. There are many other Carwiles who have those same features. And the bottom on the right, I have no idea. That's off an old tintype. It could be one of David C. and Judith's children, or it could have been a relative of my grandmother, Nancy Jane Carmen. There is some Carmen resemblance in this picture. We don't know for sure who it is. This set of pictures were off of tintypes also, and I have no way of knowing who they were, but I would strongly suspect that they could be children or daughter-in-laws or something of David and Judith. Going by suspicion and gut feeling, the gentleman on the right top, I've always thought maybe that was my great-grandfather William D.'s brother, George W. But I have no way of knowing that. Is my mother's father and mother. On the top left is William Perry Conder, and on the right is his wife and my grandmother, Emma Catherine Basham Conder. The pictures at the bottom left, it was about the time that we started our family reunions. when we first started having them, we had them at the Antwerp Park every year. The picture on the left is in 1952. That was the same year that a lot of the, I believe, 5 nephews were born. And the picture on the right is probably Antwerp Park in 1958. That was probably about a month before I went into the service. Notice how heavy Grandma was there.
Mm-hmm. Sure will have done.
Okay, this picture was taken in outside of Rustburg, Virginia in summer of 1994, and this is the remains of Jacob Carwile's hearthstone of his home, the last home they lived in. Jacob is the most senior ancestor that we can track, and he was born in 1751 and died in 1837 at this location. And that is the hearthstones of his last home. And these are pictures taken the same day as we were having a bunch of relatives got together and we went to different cemeteries. These are Virginia Carwile relatives. This is a Carwile relative in Virginia. His name is Reevely Carwile, his wife Billy, and one of his sons, Reevely Jr. And this is a Carwile descendant from Virginia. Her name is Karen Wilson, and she is also active in research on the Carwile family. She's the one who received some documents from a great aunt of hers in Illinois, and she passed some of this information on to me, and in those was photos. One of them was a tintype of who they suspected of being my great-grandfather, William D.
Yeah, John D. Well, hey, pretty good, how are you?
Okay, and this is a picture of Reevely Carwile's brother, Aubrey, and his wife.
Yeah. Yeah, they're right in the next room. I'll grab them for you.
And there's another picture of the remains of the hearthstone.
Lost one from Chicago's calling.
Okay. Okay, this is another shot of what remains of Jacob's house, the hearthstones. And about 200 yards from the location of the house is his gravesite. And this stone was just put in a few years ago by the Veterans Administration. He was a Revolutionary War veteran. And this is a highway marker of showing the location where Coles Ferry in Virginia. This would be probably about 50 miles from Lynchburg. And this is where Jacob Carwile served in the Revolutionary Forces campaign of 1781 at Coles Ferry. And that's just another shot of his headstone way out in the middle of nowhere. Now, these are Virginia Carwile relatives. Starting at the left is a man named John William, I think. Call him J.W. Carwile, his wife Alice, myself, Reevely Carwile, his wife Billy, and granddaughter. And there's a shot of all of us around Jacob's gravestone on a Sunday afternoon when we had the outing. And this is Reevely and his brother Aubrey at their old home site where they grew up. And they have kept that property in the family, and it has several barns and outbuildings which they use for workshops. And this is a headstone of John Ray Carwile, who was a second son of Jacob and a brother to my great-great-great-grandfather David C. Okay, now this is on the Conder side. This was taken at the Conder reunion in 1994. On the left is Donnie Conder, and in the middle is Anna Mildred, and on the right is Jean Conder. And that is our Aunt Eliza Conder. On her left is her son Joe, and on her right is her daughter Margaret and her daughter Anna Mildred. And that is Louise Conder and my sister Lucille. And that's a picture of me and my mother and father, Matthias and Zoe Carwile. It was probably taken around 1952, somewhere in that area. And that was me right before I started to swim to Europe. I got into the water at Virginia Beach in July, and I arrived in London, offshore of London, in September of 1994. It was quite a swim, but the water wasn't too bad.
And a good shot of the narrator and the brains behind all this history. Thanks a lot, Uncle Dave.
And the swimmer.
Yeah, oh, can't forget that.
Okay, we are right here, Hardinsburg. Tomorrow morning, we will go to my grandfather Zachariah's gravesite. We'll go straight out Hardinsburg, across 60 on 992, down to this area right here. That's where we'll have to walk about 1/8 of a mile to get to the cemetery.
Okay.
And then from there, we will go back up to Hardinsburg, 60 bypass, and go northwest about 5 miles to this road here, Skillman Monarch Road. And there, see the cemetery marker right there?
Mm-hmm.
That's where my grandmother Conder is. That's the other cemetery we're going to put the stones in.
Okay.
And from there, if we have time, let me see what we, okay, right here, come back out to 60 and keep going up kind of a northwest towards Cloverport till we get to this road here. It says Hardin's Mill Road.
Mm-hmm.
It's right across the road from Heights Run Church. Now, Heights Run Church has been, not the same building, but the church has been there for many, many years. My great-grandfather's brother, James Henry, who left Kentucky and eventually wound up in Illinois, started as a Baptist minister when he was around 17 years old, and then he was ordained to preach as a Baptist minister when he was around 21 or 22. And I have heard from different relatives that he had started his pastor's career at Heights Run. And then from Heights Run, we'll go down this Hardin's Mill Road to about this spot here, where this junction is. That is the site where I was born. The house is no longer there, but there's a nice duck pond, and it empties into Clover Creek. Now, if you took Clover Creek by canoe or so and followed it all the way down, you would wind up in the Ohio River.
Yeah.
And from there, we will go back out to 60, back down to Hardinsburg, and pick up 108 coming out of Hardinsburg. We will go about 15 miles on that to an area called, used to be a little town by the name of Glendine. It's still a little bit of a settlement there, but there's very little there. There's a church and some people live there, but that's all that's left of Glendine. And we will go on 108 into Glendine, up to the junction there, turn right, go about 1/8 of a mile, and park our car, walk across, excuse me, Daniels Creek, and about 1/8 of a mile from where we cross the creek, we will come into like a cow pasture and a clump of trees, and that is the grave site of David and Judith, the people who started the Kentucky Carwiles. They came from Virginia. And from there, we'll go back up and pick up, let's see, this would be 105, and it goes into a junction to come down and pick up 259 over to McDaniels. There's a Carwile Cemetery there. See it listed on the map. There's Carwiles buried there. My grandfather's brother, James Henry, is buried there. And if you want to back up at Glendine here, I kind of got ahead of myself. Right about where this sign says 108, right there.
Right.
Back off the road in a clump of trees is another Carwile burial site where my great-grandfather's brother, George W., and his wife, Rhoda, is buried with 2 or 3 of their children. And that's about it. That will keep us
Covers
busy.
a lot of territory.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
And then if we had time, we could go on. Well, we do want to go into Cloverport. While we're up where my birthplace was, off of Heights Run, up Hardin Mill Road, we can go down to that goose pond and pick up a road that takes us into Cloverport, which would be probably 105 or something like that. Run into 105 into Cloverport, and I can show you where I never lived there myself, but your mother lived there in Cloverport, about 2 houses from the river.
Well, if it's not too much of a bother, I'd love to see that.
And that is where my sister that I never knew, Lillian, passed away.
That was the house, huh?
And the house is still there.
Oh, man.
That's probably the only house that's still standing that my parents lived in while we were down here.
Quite a trek, bud.
This
Quite a journey.
McQuady, well, right here at Glendine, this road, we're right in the middle of Glendine, or what's left of it.
Mm-hmm.
And to get back out of there, you have to take this 108 back up to 105. But, no, you don't. That's the way you would have had to go on at one time. But there was a railroad that ran from Glendine up to Matthews and McQuady. They tore the railroad out and put a blacktop road in, so that goes up all the way there.
Oh, okay.
And to the left of where that railroad used to be, there was back in the 1850s and 60s, there was an old wagon trail that run along the side of the railroad. You can still see that, but it's impassable.
Is that right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can see
It's still there, though.
the ruts.
It's amazing. It's still left there.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, it's growed over.
Yeah, but I mean, it's
Oh, yeah,
it
you-
and tilled up, and you know, I mean, just
Well-
leveled off. And
People have used it for a dump.
is that right?
That's right. Yep.
All this in Breckenridge County.
Yeah. Yeah, there's real nice Rough River State Park. That's a nice area down here,
Is it
south of Glendine.
scenic? You mean?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Rough River runs all the way down to the south of McDaniels. But there's a lot of marinas and real nice cottages on the Rough River. Yeah. So it's pretty scenic. There is a lot more in the county that I have not even scratched the surface on yet, you know. Like when you go up, leave Hardinsburg, okay, yeah, 79 up, well, can't, okay, going if you were taking 60 out of Hardinsburg and then going up through Irvington, and instead of taking 79 and going back over the bridge, branch to the right here, up in that area, getting close to your Fort Knox area, there was an area up there where there was a, I believe it was a cotton mill. This was way back, probably back in the 1880s. And someone told me one time that my grandmother, Nancy Carmen Carwile, worked at that cotton mill at Gray, Hampton. I don't know. I think that there are people who know where the Gray Hampton area used to be, but it would be east of Irvington going towards Fort Knox area.
I see. In Meade County, probably?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So if we get all of that in tomorrow, I will.
We
Have
will
a
have had
good
a day.
day.
That's
Tomorrow
right.
I've had a day.
Well, tomorrow and Saturday.
Right.
We can't do it all tomorrow.
No,
I'm gonna say.
impossible.
But we'll try to hit some of those tomorrow afternoon,
Yeah.
because we want to get the cement poured
Right.
on both locations tomorrow morning.
Right away.
Shouldn't take too
Right
long.
away.
And
Yeah.
then we can go do whatever we want to. And then Saturday morning, go back out when Steve's here and put the headstones
There
on.
you go.
And then we can,
Gallivant.
yeah.
Okay. That's a plan. I
Yeah.
hope we get the weather for it. At least not raining.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, we can handle the chilliness, but
This is Mamie, and that's Mary Jane on the right.
okay.
This
Picture of back in the 40s, maybe?
That was
or-
probably taken in 60, about 1960.
Okay.
Right.
That was later, as after
Yeah.
Granny was getting old,
They-
poorly there.
They both died shortly after that, I think. Your granny died probably 1962.
She died in 1962, that's correct.
Yeah, my dad died in June,
Yeah.
and I think she died later that year. And I don't remember when Aunt Mamie died, but it was in that time period.
She died, my grandmother died, I think, in December of 1962.
And then I think Baker might have died right in there too. Uncle Baker,
He died later.
63 maybe. Something.
Yeah.
One more time, please. I didn't have it on.
That's John and his mother Zoe,
Okay.
taken when they lived in Hicksville. That looks like where Applegates live now,
Okay.
on Cornelia Street.
And that was in the 40s.
50s,
50s?
early 50s.
Okay. What year is this,
Okay.
Uncle Dave?
1962,
Okay.
Andy and Zoe.
All right.
Well, now, if you, there's Dad.
That's down towards Glendine.
It's back over here on Rough River.
Yeah.
Right before you get to
Yeah.
Rough River.
Yeah.
Before you get to the dam. And that's Dad at Sand Knob, with Sand Knob in the background there.
Uh-huh.
And of course, well, this is me when I was 16, and that's
Uh-huh.
the Probus brothers there, Kenny and Tommy. You wouldn't know them. We did a lot of. We were quite proud of that old car. We made that thing run, and we drove it around to car shows. And
That's a
Yeah, it's something
smallest
else.
one we've got.
that's a picture of my mother and Dave.
Uh-huh.
Oh,
That was made
His
right
last
before
name
we
was
got-
Meter.
Metter.
Metter, yeah. Uh-huh. David Metter.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. He was a minister, wasn't he?
Right.
Uh-huh.
For over 50 years.
Yeah, I
He's a
met
good
him.
man.
Met him a couple times. Uh-huh.
Sweet man.
Now, this is Ruby, right? Ruby Martin.
Ruby. Yeah.
Uh.
No, that's
And that's
just
one
a,
of his
Oh.
friends.
Oh.
just a former acquaintance.
I see.
That his mother kept the picture.
Do you have?
I get trouble over old pictures sometimes.
You got a picture there of your cousin Ruby?
Yeah.
Do you have one when she's older?
This is Ruby. That's Aunt Rachel.
Is that her mother?
No, that's Ruby.
is that the place where I probably
That's Ruby
stayed?
Jane.
Well,
Or-
hard to tell. He had
That's her first-
several
Did
different
he?
ones.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. The picture looked too
Okay.
old for her.
In fact, he even had a little store down at Glendine one time, didn't he? Andy?
Yeah, owned a general store there.
Yeah.
At end of the World War II.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
He was probably the last businessman in Glendine. There's sure not much there now.
Most of it's burnt out. Now, here's Ruby Jane. That's my cousin, the one that was on the baby picture there with me.
Yeah.
And this is Granny.
Uh-huh.
And this is Aunt Rachel.
That's Ruby's mother.
And this is
Her first daughter, what is her name? Renee.
Renee.
Let me get it.
That's
No
Ruby's
problem.
daughter. That's
It's
four
got another name
generations.
with her,
Uh-huh,
Renee,
four
but I can't
generations,
think what
yeah.
it is.
Does it have a name on the kid? I'm pretty sure it's Renee. It's her firstborn, or Ruby's firstborn. I'm pretty sure.
Rachel, Ruby, Mary Jane, and... Is her name Rachel? The little ones? There's two names here, Rachel.
And Rachel Renee, because they always.
Rachel Renee, yeah.
Uh-huh.
called her
That's
Renee, I
Ruby's
think.
oldest.
She named her after her mother.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, there's four generations. Okay, this is Aunt Mamie,
Okay.
Aunt Mary Jane, and that's the Ruby's little
No wonder
daughter,
I found
Rachel.
that, 'cause I had that with Granny.
And this is Aunt Mary Jane.
I opened that up.
This is her daughter, Rachel.
Okay.
And this is Rachel's daughter, Ruby. And this is Ruby's daughter, Rachel.
Okay.
What is it? The
Okay.
guy's name, Haynes, Steve Haynes, and what's my aunt that he married?
Your mom's sister?
Yeah. Older sister, they used to, her and Gertie
She
went
was
up
in the
there.
nursing home?
Yeah,
Uh,
she still is, I think.
mm-hmm.
She doesn't know him. This is her.
Did you get these?
Nope. No, I didn't.
Well, shoot.
That's Andy and Zoe there. This is Andy and my Aunt Mary Jane.
Okay.
And this is Zoe. Who's Zoe holding here?
Daggone if I know.
Probably some neighborhood child. They always had them in their station.
And that's Andy.
Call your,
Ain't,
call Aunt Gertie, because I don't know.
I'm not
And
gonna
I've
ask
heard
her who
it.
my aunt is. It's embarrassing.
Well, she's not gonna think anything bad.
I've got-
She's been in
I've
the
got a
nursing home
picture
for
here
years.
of Granddad and one of my older aunts and her husband, Steve Haynes. And I haven't been in their house since I was 15 years old. My grandfather was real sick, and this Haynes guy was a foul-mouthed bad guy. All of his life, he's dead and gone, but bless his heart, he was never a good person, in my opinion.
Right.
Well, he was talking about Granddad pretty bad, and I flew mad and took him outside. First man I ever invited outside.
I'll be done.
I never went around him after that. And I can't, and it's terrible. I always felt guilty about not going around this aunt. I can't remember her name. And I didn't go around her because of him. He never changed.
Hey, here's some good ones. There's Andy and Agnes. You remember Agnes?
Yeah,
And there's Agnes and Artie Lee. You remember Artie Lee?
yeah. I've got one of Agnes and Granny here that goes along with that.
That's Agnes Hall. She's another cousin that lived up in Louisville. That's Aunt Mamie's daughter.
Okay.
And this is Aunt Mary Jane with her there.
And that interesting story, talk about the welder, Ruby, sort of being Agnes Hall was the first city bus driver in the
Yeah.
city of Louisville that was a woman.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Well, she drove taxi for a good many years too,
and then
didn't she?
And then she got a job on the bus line.
Uh-huh. Willard, her brother, was a bus driver too, wasn't he?
Yeah, he's the one that got her on.
Oh, was it?
But she had a hard time
Yeah.
breaking into that. It was all male.
Now this is
that was real rough.
this is Artie Lee and Zoa. Artie Lee was Uncle Baker's daughter. And there's Artie Lee and Agnes. And there's Agnes and Andy.
Fill her up.
Yeah. And that's Mamie and Mary Jane, my aunts.
Mm-hmm.
And Freddie Young was Gert's husband,
Freddie, no, that's her oldest son.
oldest son.
He's the one that was killed out here as you come out of Hardy's.
Yeah, they called him
Wishy.
Wishy. Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
Wishy's the one that when I was 2 years old that I fell in that wash tub and he's standing there laughing and saying he looks just like a drowned rat instead of trying to help me get out.
Oh.
He was older.
Now, is this Freddie's wife, R. Young?
Yeah, that's Rudy.
Rudy. Yeah. Yeah, I remember they came up when my dad passed away.
Did they?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wishy was a a good person.
Now, how long ago did he get killed? Just hadn't been too long, has it?
It's been since we've lived here. He got. Well, it's been since Mom died.
That's what I was thinking. Your mom's been gone 2 years.
2 years, yeah.
Yeah.
About a year and a half. He got killed. He was going straight on 60 and a car pulled right out into the side of him, out of Hardy's. And it didn't have a seatbelt on, and the steering wheel broke his rib and pushed it through his lung.
Yeah.
That doesn't sound too severe because you can usually live on one lung. Unfortunately, he only had one lung.
Oh, okay.
So he drowned in his own blood.
Yeah.
This is
That's Andrew Carmen and his brothers and sister and mother.
you want me to name it?
Yeah.
Yes, would you
Yeah.
please?
Okay. This is that's Gilman Carmen, Andrew Carmen, my dad,
Mm-hmm.
Aunt Eula Wright. She married a Wright. She's still alive. Warsh Carmen and Scully Carmen. And this is Grandma Katie Carmen, my dad's mother.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Junior would love to get that. I'll tell you why. He's researching Carmen history.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Well, he's welcome to take it and copy it.
He's on one of these computer networks,
Yeah.
and he's contacting. Oh, he's in contact with several different Carmens from around the country, and they're tracing the. They think that they've traced the origin of the Carmens back to way back in the 1600s to Long Island, New York.
Yeah. See,
That's probably where they.
the only one that's
Came-
alive here is Aunt Eula. The rest of them are dead. Well, this isn't all of them. Glenn isn't on here.
Glenn, yeah.
So there's one other one that
Okay.
isn't.
Which
That's
one was kind of short and stocky?
Glenn.
Glenn, okay.
And Warsh was heavy set, strong as an ox.
Yeah.
When did your dad die? How long ago has that been?
He died in 1974.
74.
Was it really?
73 or 4. 70?
It was right in there.
74, yeah. I was in Germany. I came back on emergency leave, and I came back by myself. Brenda and the babies were over in Germany, and the two older kids and Brenda. I got to the hospital, and Dad was in real bad shape, and he came around and like he was getting better, and he said, I guess you know I'm dying. And I said, well, I said, the doctors say you're pretty sick, but you'll make it, you know. He said, no, he said, I sure would like to see those babies. He's talking about the grandbabies.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, well, Dad, I said, they're still in Germany, but I tell you what, I'll go call and tell them come on home. And Brenda got the first available airplane that she could, after she got to the bank, got enough money to buy airline tickets, because the Army doesn't fly the family back.
Yeah.
She flew back, and while she's landing at Chicago, Dad passed away.
Oh,
he never
is
got
that
to see him
right?
alive, so. But anyway, he knew they were on their way, but
Yeah.
he just didn't make
Yeah.
it.
Is this Johnny Baker?
Let me see. Yeah, that's Johnny Baker right before he died.
And
And
who's this old picture? I don't. It was stuck
No.
in there for some reason. There's a bunch of family groups there. But I don't know.
yeah, this is Johnny Baker, and I don't even remember his wife's name, but whoever it was. And this is the one that died. Our cousin that died. Remember? We weren't expecting it. Now, if I'm right about that picture, the naming that picture, this is Mrs. Openchain.
Uh-huh.
And that's who I thought that heavy-set woman was. She was always heavy. As a matter of fact, she lost weight after she got older.
Mm-hmm.
And Johnny Baker, he looked the same as he did when I first met you.
Who's this?
The guy with the walker, is that Johnny Baker?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Okay.
That's Zoe's brother.
Okay.
You know what? I hate to cut this short, but we better get out in the woods.
Yeah.
Where did you say we picked that?
And this is your grandfather, you say?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
only arm.
Only arm.
Who did Joyce marry? Did it say there?
No, she married Haynes.
Haynes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Different varieties. Hybrid ours.
Yeah.
In the springtime.
In the spring of the year, this valley is, unless I'm sick and in the hospital and Brenda can't take care of them, it's some of the prettiest flower beds
Yeah, I'll
in
bet.
Breckenridge County.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, Brenda's even making her own hybrids now. She's learned how to
Oh, yeah.
pollinate the things.
Yeah.
It's fun. I
Yeah.
enjoy it. We never lived long enough to even start a garden before. But
Feel-
our garden gets smaller and the flowers get bigger.
Feel like homesteaders here, huh?
Well, strangely enough, we're antsy to move. As a matter of fact, we're getting so much stuff in the closets. We're
Yeah.
gonna have
We've
to,
inherited everybody's
everybody's
stuff,
stuff, and we
so-
keep bringing it in, and I hate to throw anything away. It belonged to my mother, it belonged to her grandmother. I mean, that's bound to be of some value to somebody. Even old pictures, we got boxes of old pictures we haven't gone through. But you can only hold so much.
Yeah.
You can only
Yeah.
house so much of that stuff.
I know what
But
you mean.
and being in the Army, we'd move about every 3 years,
We need to
2 to 3
pretend
years,
we're moving.
and you'd have to clean out and throw away because you could only have so much weight to move. At the Army's expense. You didn't want to have to pay it out on your own. So
Or give it to different people. 'Cause you
we've
didn't
lived
want
here
it
for
stored.
10 years, so
You
we're
got quite the
we're getting
accumulation.
anchored now.
Yeah.
You got a beautiful place, too.
Yeah, you do. It's
I love
just
it out
coming
here.
down the hill there, just
Well, we looked all over town.
Great.
We took 2 months to look. We'd come in from Virginia, and our real estate agent, she would show us this house, and old ones, new ones, in between. And they had little bitty yards. And I grew up on a farm, and John's been on a farm, and we had given her a price we didn't want to go over, and she said, I've got one more place, it's more than you wanted to spend. She pulled at the top of the hill.
yeah, it's just.
John
great.
looked at me, and I looked at him, and I said, we're in trouble.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
fell in love with it without even seeing the house inside.
We
John's had cows, and he never did get his cows.
had a heart attack.
Yeah.
He had the fence ready to be put up and everything, so.
Well, you was
I don't-
gonna drive back for Fort Knox from here.
I
He
did.
Yeah,
for 3
I did
years.
until I medically retired.
Yeah.
30 years.
Uh-huh.
Well, actually, I only had 29 and a half, but
They give you
they gave me the
Yeah.
7 months or so.
person go that long, I don't see how.
Yeah.
They felt bad about kicking me out. I tried to stay
He
in.
fought him.
I didn't want
To
to.
the
I didn't
bill.
want to be. They offered me 100%. I said no. I said I want to. I was in line and almost guaranteed of being the first W5 signal warrant in the Army. I was the ranking senior person, and I held all the Pentagon jobs. I had all my tickets punched, and I had my college degree, and I was ready for it. And I needed to stay in until this W5 came out. And they hadn't had the board and I hadn't been selected or anything because they didn't even have it yet. But the general officers had already had me assigned. You know, Brenda and I had already discussed whether we were going back to Germany and I was going to take over Premison Army Depot as the chief of the depot, or if I was going to Fort Gordon to take over the signal school and run the warrant department in the signal school. And those were the two choices that I was...
I might as well stay here. I've never seen him. I'd stay here with the kids.
But rolling in the floor didn't do that any good, and they didn't want me to stay in. Once they say that your health is deteriorated to where you can't serve in full capacity, you're not going to get promoted anyway.
Yeah.
Pretend like them's yours.
Yeah, well, that's true. I can do that, and he takes good care of it too.
You can look at them anytime you want to, and you don't have to take care of them.
Back before the box dropped out, there used to be some good money.
Yeah.
To make money in cattle. Right now, they're not making money in cattle. Farmers are not. That's the reason you see so many cows there. He would normally have taken some of those off the market. The market is so over-flooded right now, he'll probably hold them and try to keep them through the winter. Even though he doesn't normally have that much feed. See, everybody's got more cattle, and they're holding them back, and it's perpetuating the problem and lengthening the problem because sooner or later they got to get rid of them.
Just like inflation. Probably parents that lived here when all the...
Okay, we took the Skillman Monarch Road down to this farm, and it's Alan Skillman's farm. About third or fourth generation, you say?
Anyway.
And we're heading back through the back trail.
Now right
to the
about where
gravesite.
that building in front of us is, there was an old house set there, and that's where Paul, my brother Paul, was born. Right about in this area.
Is that right?
I'll be.
No, it's a pig pen. There's the fence right in front of us. Yeah, right in front of us. This is it, huh?
No, I'm going to hook the fence.
Oh.
Drive back here a little bit.
Need some help?
No, I just unhook it. Why don't you just jump out and unhook that, and I'll drive through, and then you hook it up again.
Gotcha.
They just come right off.
You wouldn't. Shit.
It didn't have much more rain, but we'd been hoofing it.
We have our work cut out for us.
Get started.
Okay. We found Uncle Dave's and Mom's little sister, her sister Lillian's tombstone. Before we cut it out, the old underbrush and overbrush and everything else. I want to give you a glance of what we got to do. I mean, there's little headstones sticking up everywhere, brush everywhere. back in there. I think you can see it. Just hold her still, buddy. All right. Okay. That's our work. It's cut out for us. Okay.
Yeah, what do we got here?
Okay, so what we're doing here is getting ready to pour the base for the headstone that goes on tomorrow for, this is the Uncle Dave's grandma.
Yeah.
And she's about the only one that doesn't have one, so we're gonna fix her up right. And Cousin Dave's over there resting right now. He's twiddling away at Uncle Dave's sister's.
It's empty. It's cleared out.
Lillian. Okay, and he blazed a trail. Got that big old limb out of the way. So, shall we commence? She's running.
Probably might be cleaner to just shovel it out.
Yeah. What's this stick for?
To level it off.
Level, okay.
Where we want her. This is my grandfather's headstone. That's his parents right over here.
I didn't get any of them.
We'll clean them off a little bit so we can get a shot of them. Yeah, coming up fine, huh? I should have had a little deal made up for my drill. Mixed it with the drill.
There you go. Yeah. Matter of fact, I've got a deal.
Yeah.
Well, one of Dad's.
Got a little flange.
Yeah, yeah, a paddle deal like. Yeah. Oh, this ain't bad though. I think she's soup, buddy.
Think it's ready to do it.
Yes, sir. Certainly do.
Wash that shovel off before it sets up.
Taking a whole lot of water for this, doesn't it?
Where you want it? Right here. Do the honors?
Well, I'd like for you to. I mean, you know what I mean.
Here goes.
If you don't mind.
Here it goes. Oh, this is my grandmother on my mother's side. The headstone, and we're using a bucket that belonged to my mother, so it's quite fitting. I'm going to hold the cigarette for you.
And the pouring of the foundation. What is it, about 80 years overdue?
About 50 on this one.
50 on this one.
Grab an old stick. Oh, you can use that. Nope, haven't been enough. That was about half full, wasn't it?
You have another one in there. All right.
Cleaner shovel again.
Yeah. We're done with it, aren't we?
Shovel.
Using Grandpa as a tripod.
Huh?
Using Grandpa as a tripod.
I guess it would have made sense to brought it. I mean, that's what I brought it along for, I guess.
Well, we're doing all right.
That'd be nice work. Good job, man.
Well, I think it's time we take them forms off. It's going to do it. Here's something.
You know, hard to imagine at one time their family probably stood right around this area when this was going on, you know that?
Yep.
And that's something. How it is now. If you could just snap your fingers and go back to that day, or, you know, back to a couple days after that, maybe, I don't know. Had to been quite a shock. It was from a stomach flu, is what his paper said. And they didn't have antibiotics, you know. Just a simple thing like that, and she'd probably still been with us. Yeah, we've come a long way in medicine. But you pay for it.
Here, you want to take over?
Arm
arm's getting a little tired.
There's one more that I haven't seen. And that would have been Mom's brother, Layman.
Probably right in here somewhere.
Probably right in there.
Wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
I was telling Dave, you know, that your family at one time, of course all these families, you know, just congregated around this situation. It's hard to believe.
And this is my sister Lillian. She was born in February of 1925 and died in May of 1926. She's about a year and a half old. She would have been the fourth child. Junior was the fifth. Katie was the sixth, and I was the seventh. Lula was the first. Paul was the second. Lucille was the third. Lillian was the fourth.
Yeah, we put a pretty good chunk in this corner.
That's what she's gonna look like.
Yeah.
Tomorrow we'll come back, set her up on top of that base. And what, I guess you went through the history when he was running the cam on these?
No.
No?
Okay, these stones here are of Emma Conder's husbands. Emma Conder's husband was Willie.
Right.
William.
Okay.
And this is Willie's parents. This is George W. Conder. And he was evidently a veteran, probably the Civil War era. And this is his original headstone. And this is a headstone that Darrell Conder put in a few years back, commemorating the fact that he was a veteran. And this is Willie Conder's mother, Mary Williams. Her father's name was William Perry Williams, and she named her son Willie after her father. His middle name was Perry, also William Perry Conder.
Okay.
And then there's one more stone, but I don't know where it's at. It would be of Layman Conder, who was one of my mother's brothers who died fairly young, but it's up in this area where Willie and Emma's headstone is now.
Maybe we can find it tomorrow, what do you suppose?
Yeah. Yeah, we're going to get moving right now.
Okay. Where are we headed to next?
To Tate's Chapel Cemetery to put the headstone in for my grandfather Carwile, Zachariah Carwile.
Okay.
So we've done a pretty good 2 hours work here.
Yeah.
We have arrived at the gravesite of Uncle Dave's grandpa, Zachariah.
Right.
And he's buried clear back there. And we're going to venture that way with the headstone and the mortar mix, the goodies, and do it upright. We'll see you when we're back there. Alright, straight ahead through there is the truck. We have drug everything down through here, clear down, clear up the hill. And like a good country mile, Uncle Dave just kept cracking that whip.
Wouldn't let him quit.
Wouldn't let him quit. No. And here we are There's the project area where he's buried. This cemetery isn't quite as in disarray as the last one we were at, though it appears to be just as old. Well, I better get busy before he hits me again with that whip.
Mo? Got a brew going there. Yeah. We're making one shot this time. Yeah. Come on, let's mix it. Yeah, a little bit more. I think we're gonna...
This is divided up into sections. Yeah. More stones over that way.
Okay.
That does?
Yeah.
Yeah, that should be.
Stir a little bit.
Yeah, I believe that's gonna make it just about right. Better not need any more water, but I don't think we got room for it.
That's the right mix, yeah.
Get some long rubber gloves to work.
Get right into it, huh?
Yeah.
The way you want her.
You gonna empty the jug before you carry it back?
Oh, why, most definitely.
Big sissy. Let me carry it.
Okay.
After you empty it.
Oh, must have leaked out on the way. How's that looking?
Feels like pretty good shape. Yeah, I noticed the last time. Right around the edge is where the dry stuff was.
Bottom edge.
Yeah.
Probably could use a little bit of that out of there in the bottom and
Yeah.
shovel a little bit of that shit
Some
out.
of that out and then be able to mix it.
Yeah.
What's left? That's on top is surely mixed.
Oh my.
That's gotta be. Yeah.
Maybe. It's better than nothing, I guess.
Oh, I say you guys mix it pretty damn good.
Better?
Oh, yeah.
Save yourself some.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say the scraping's on the side of the stuff. Add a little bit more of this.
Yeah,
Don't have much left. Stir it up and get comfortable. Good batch.
How y'all doing?
Oh,
right,
Bug got her whip. How you doing?
All right. I'm Chuck. Frank.
Oh, yeah.
How was it? Hal, okay.
Nice to meet you.
I'm Steve Carwile.
Okay, all right.
I've been back here
Okay.
4 or 5 different times. This is my grandfather and
Okay.
grandmother right there. And grandfather never had a stone, so now he's got one. Come back tomorrow and put that on him.
Fun dragging that puppy back there.
I bet you did.
We didn't know if we could drive back here or where to drive, so we just carried it. So.
Yeah, it wouldn't have hurt anything if you could have made it.
That's what.
Slick going up the hill.
Yeah.
Wouldn't hurt anything.
We put one in over at old Stillman Cemetery over on Stillman Monarch Road where Alan,
Yeah, yeah.
my grandmother on my mother's side, is buried back there. She never had one. Boy, you talk about cemetery.
Oh, isn't this one too, really?
This one is.
No, this one's excellent compared to the other one.
I was back here last time 2 years ago, and this wasn't too bad. I noticed it's starting to grow up over in there.
Yeah, that wind last spring got that big tree and got that big tree.
Yeah.
I don't, they wasn't down. I know it was last spring. They wasn't down when y'all was here last time. I've been trying to cut that one out. I'm trying to cut that out a little bit too. It's daggone big.
Besides guys.
Yeah.
I noticed one time when I was looking back here, there's some markers where the people haven't been interned. There's 2 or 3 of them. I don't know, maybe they have been interned somewhere else.
Well, do you have any idea if there's any more family living that's in here?
No, I don't.
I asked Lee Burke up there. I don't know if you know Lee or heard Lee or anything. He's the neighbor on up the road there. He said he didn't know for sure if it was or not.
Now I noticed that one stone over there, Maple Downs.
Yeah, yeah, down.
The last I heard, I don't know for sure, but I heard she's still living either in Hardinsburg or close to it. She's out at night. And I don't know if she's going to be here right here or not. I don't know any of her family or anything. I'm working on her Fort Wayne, Indiana. I get down there.
All right, it's anytime you need to come back in here, just help yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll be back in here tomorrow to put that on the foundation.
We're not used to here. Anything back there, just help yourself. You don't even have to get a hold of me if you need something.
Well, thank you. A few years ago, in that tree there, I noticed, you can't hardly see it now, my grandfather's footstone put into the ground, and the tree grew up. See, he died in 25, so that tree is had a long time to cover that up.
Yeah, I like it out here.
Yeah, it's peaceful out here.
Yeah,
I like it out here in the summer.
They come up and sell the kids. None of the kids wanted it, so they just auctioned it off. We had it for almost 2 years. About 2 years ago.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I like it.
Well, this is exercise.
Uh-huh. Yes, sir. Probably 8.
They were rich around Louisville.
And one girl across the road in a trailer, and I thought they would have some interest in it, but they didn't show it. And all the other kids are who's in little one, and one girl.
You building a barn, are you? Or?
No, no, that's my neighbor. I run the quarry down here.
Oh, yeah.
Just down the road here.
Yeah. I leave, motel? Yeah. Well, his name is too, kind of called. I don't think it's running. Record.
Yeah, right there.
Daughter lives there.
I'm not sure on that either. I think it's kids, you know, and I think they just got somebody living there taking care of them.
Oh, I see. Maybe he is. Could be.
Well, I'm gonna get on back to work.
All right.
Well, nice to meet you.
Okay. All right. Okay. All righty. All right.
How you coming, Poncho? Good. Sitting down, ain't it? That the bottom is gonna fall out maybe mid-afternoon. Yeah, I think for this. Well, I think that's what's up to it. I do too. I think I'm in, you know. It's covered with plastic. Got that plastic on the back. You know. I don't know. Let's get down to about 25. You know what? Well, you could use salt water too. it's got sun and wind. It might go in a hurry. You know.
Salt water added to the water. If we come out here and varnish that set, we'll just use stone right next to it. But I plan on coming back.
Sure.
No, that's true. Oh, you want that stone up on there now?
Yeah, holes right there. I got her. Got her plugged.
Oh, God.
We're gonna have to be careful or we're gonna move that. We're moving the bottom. Bring her up there.
Okay.
Now, find something fine, stick underneath that. Something to shim it with.
I was tacky the edges.
Push it back. Yeah, okay. Front corner. Push it. Want to lean forward. Okay, that's good. Good.
Whose is this one? This anybody's?
No, I don't think so. I looked at it, didn't recognize no last name.
Well,
You were kind and respectable wife. Non-mother and a friend to all.
I got the battery light flashing. Day 3, our new arrival.
I want to turn that on at night when you're sleeping. And
You going? Could be a footstone for an unmarked grave.
About 35 degrees this morning. Day 3. First time Steve's been out here.
That headstone there, I don't believe even belongs here. I think that belongs down in Washington County. This is my grandparents. Come back here.
Last shot of Aunt Lillian's. Okay.
Okay, this is my mother's brother who died at a very young age. His name was Eliza Conder. I can't read the dates on there, but it would have had to have been probably prior to 1915 or something like that.
Okay. Watch your head there, buddy.
I got one up there.
Barely just made your office.
The owner of this place and the one of the other one too, before I forget that, you know.
The cemetery that we just left where the Conder family is buried is owned presently by Alan Skillman, and that's probably the third or fourth generation owner. His parents and grandparents, and probably great-grandparents owned that. And this property that this cemetery is presently owned by a man named Chuck Burrington. Owners before that were not originally from Breckinridge County, and at the time the cemetery was founded back in probably prior to the Civil War, I have no idea who might have owned the property then. But this is called Tate's Chapel Cemetery. At one time, out on the highway that we came in, just short distance from here, there was a church there for this cemetery, for this community, and that was called Tate's Chapel. And the graves up here this is my grandmother Carwile, Matthias Carwile's mother. She died in 1915, and I believe the stone was probably erected shortly after that. And to the right is one of her brothers, Willie Carman. And the stone that we just put in was my grandfather Zachariah Skillman Carwile. He died in 1925, and we have just now put the stone in, so he's finally got his headstone.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Kind of reminds me of my house. Well, I haven't noticed it for a long time. You don't have it? It looks like somebody used that path quite a bit. Taking a close-up.
This is the Glendine area. Used to be a town or something like that, according to Uncle Dave. This is a graveyard close by. Got more kinfolk in it.
Well, here's that's nothing. That's just somebody else. I left these here.
Okay.
These are the remnants of my great grandparents' headstone.
Chilly.
See if we can put it back together. That's a good one. Find all of it now. Wonder what would happen to it.
What does that say?
Affliction sore long time I have, position skill in vain. Christ was pleased to give me ease and rid me of my pain.
Huh.
I can't even find one that had David's name on it. I have a picture of it at home, but it should have been right here. Somebody else has been here since I was, and probably took it as a souvenir.
You think so?
That was surprising.
Whoa, here, on the back side.
Probably leased some land from someone else who had homesteaded, and him and his wife held about 1,100 acres in this area.
This is the first one to come to Kentucky, right?
From Virginia.
From Virginia.
Yeah.
There we go.
This is all that's left of his headstone, but he was born in 1789, Campbell County, Virginia. He arrived in this area probably around 1825. and he died in 1853. This headstone here is what's left of his wife, Judith. She was born in 1800 in Campbell County, Virginia, and her maiden name was Judith O. Dobson.
Okay.
She died in 1872. And these are my great-great-grandparents. Graves of my great-grandfather, William D., which would have been their son, but it has to be somewhere in this Glendine or Planters Hall area. Maybe someday I'll get lucky enough to locate that, but I think he was probably buried in a grave without a headstone, and that's why
I see.
I've never been able to locate it.
This whole thing, this whole area is burial site though, right?
Within trees, probably. It doesn't cover the whole area, but
I see.
the cemetery is within the cedar grove.
Okay.
A lot of unmarked graves here.
Yeah.
Well, we through with this?
Yeah, I think so.
Put it back. Maybe it'll last a couple more years.
Yeah.
Not knowing anything and finally finding out where it was and getting that 1 year delay.
Going through the cow patch.
Yeah. So you think this might have been a church up in here, huh?
Some kind of a structure. What I consider ruins, the way they're laid out.
Right. Like you say, these are kind of a cut stone.
Yeah, and these are embedded in the ground, probably kind of a foundation like. Just the way that's laid out, kind of a square, I feel it was some kind of a structure.
It'd be a good guess that it might have been a church too, you know?
Being that close to it. As many churches as they had back then, some of them might have been pretty small, just
Right.
big enough to hold about 15 or 20 people. See, this is the original old road that they used back in the probably 1850s, 60s, that period, even earlier than that probably. And Glendine sets that direction about 8 to 1/4 of a mile. And that was a very busy community back in the mid-1800s, 1860s.
And this over in this direction, Hal, the road that you the secondary road that you travel there was the railroad at one time, and they tore that out and made a blacktop road. But
And that's the road we came in on, right?
And if you look this way, you can see through the trees where a road might have been, but that is the old road from the mid-1800s.
I'll be darned.
That'd be something.
Yes, it would.
Yeah, if a person could travel that road on foot with a metal detector, I suppose you could probably come up with some good things, some good stuff.
Did you see that footprint in the rock down there? It was almost like a perfect shoe print in the face of the rock down there. Right where we saw it back.
JP's back in that time.
Oh, was that right?
Yeah, my great-grandfather William D. was a JP, and his brother George W. was a JP.
And for those who don't understand, a JP is?
Justice of the Peace.
Okay.
They could conduct marriages. They could do like trials on misdemeanors, you know,
Right.
things like that. They couldn't try capital crimes or anything like that, but just misdemeanor crimes in the community.
And what was you telling me about the bond situation with a marriage?
Oh, well, some of the court records I found of George W. when he was JP, he had served as bondsman for different people who were going to get married. And I believe that when a person applied for marriage bond, they posted a bond. And if one of them backed out, then the other one got the bond money after the JP took his share.
That's interesting. And
Figure out how to put film in another one, because I haven't done this.
Better move over, Hal, here comes a wagon.
this one's, yeah, that heads to Glendine, and that the other direction.
Goes to Matthews and McQuady.
Okay.
Gotta get out of the way of that wagon.
Yeah. Yeah, they really trashed her up along the side, didn't they?
That's too bad. Well, the whole area is trashed. Andy Carmen had a store down there at one time.
Is that right?
A general store back in the late 40s, early 50s.
And really none of those buildings are existing anymore,
Probably
huh?
not.
So I looked back when you told us it was behind us, and there
I'll
was
drive
nothing.
up to there.
Okay.
There's a church up there that's been there forever, but it's probably not the same church.
Right. Right.
Might even be the third or fourth church. But it's probably been that area. What would we talk? Right down here.
Yeah.
I don't look like where I came up.
No, it doesn't.
Probably right.
This used to be an old railroad, huh?
Then to get to the other road, there's a little bridge up here. Yeah, right there. Bridge. Go down through here. See?
That's how you get to the old road.
The business section of the town was right through here.
All gone.
church. Yeah, that's probably about the third or fourth church that stood there, but it's been there a long time.
Is that a cemetery up there?
Central air and everything.
Got him on tape. Got him on tape.
I'll give you a start.
Yeah.
Children. Huh.
Fixing on these.
Born in 1831, died in 1899. The George W. Carwile. And this is Rhoda, the wife, George W. Carwile. Born in 1890 or 1831, died in 1897. Some of the children. Okay, now, who is this
Go back
once
down
again,
to the
please?
corner. George W. Carwile. He was born around 1830, died in 1899. He was a brother to my great-grandfather, William D. And he was also one of the JPs in this area.
Okay.
This is his wife, Rhoda Meter. Looks like she was born about 1831, died about 1897. Next marker. Nanny Vest Carwile, born 1866, died in 1893. Daughter of George and Rhoda. Owen Carwile, born 1897, or died the same year that his father did, 1899. He was only about 2 years old.
I'll be darned.
Huh. William Carwile. I think this was the one that was named after General McClellan. George William McClellan. I think that was his full name. He born 1863 and died in 1899, so there was 3 of them in the family that died in 1899. It could have been some kind of illness.
Now wait, this was the son of George?
Oh, that's the grandson.
Grandson.
Grandson, yeah.
No, I was wondering, wait a minute here, on his
Yeah.
dying...
Right.
Yeah, that was my grandson.
Okay. That's a peck and paw, huh?
Yeah, he would have been a son-in-law of George. This is the same one.
The neighbors going back down there?
Yeah, probably so I don't get broke. Yep.
Just finishing around here. That's good, huh?
They still have descendants in Breckenridge County. Maxwell, probably McCoy, Madigan, they're probably descendants of George Logan.
Not touched for years. This whole thing. Just wanted to add that to this video. Okay, roll them. Up on top of that hill somewhere?
No, on past that hill.
Okay,
Would probably be the direction that David C. and Judith is buried.
okay.
And by all of George's family being buried in this cemetery, I just kind of have a feeling that this area here might have been part of David and Judith's land, and then later on part of George's
Right,
land.
okay.
Yeah, I think we're awful close to the old Carwile homestead.
This is the cemetery right at the edge of it that we were just in for reference.
And the farm buildings may have been down in that area where they...
The other house?
Yeah. When you research something, you gotta have access to all the records when you need them, and you can't come down and do it in just 2 days. I mean, you gotta sit there and go through all this stuff, a week or 10 days at a time. And you could probably wind up with an actual map of where all these people lived and everything.
One final shot of that last cemetery. It screwed up so bad. Uncle Dave said if to go back any further in our history, you'd have to go to Lynchburg, Virginia, where they would be very glad to see us. And I don't doubt it. Out in the middle of nowhere. I think Steve was just taking a leak.
Back there when we was in the cemetery, we noticed that 3 members of that family had died in 1899.
Right?
There's a kind of a coincidence. His brother, James Henry Carwile, who left Kentucky probably early 1860s. He was a minister, Baptist minister. Left Kentucky, went to Indiana, and eventually wound up in Illinois, Moegla or something like that. But anyway, the date of his birth was 1899 also, so there was quite a depletion in the family in the year 1899.
So this is basically the homestead,
We believe it is.
we believe it is, of the very first ones, very first Carwiles that came from Virginia, right? This area?
Somewhere in this area. yes.
Okay.
Not necessarily right here.
Right, right. Very remote. Uninhabited by the looks of it.
This is the same property where the cemetery is that George W. and Rhoda and their children buried. The last I knew, it was owned by a man with the name of Ed Mitchell, who I had the pleasure of meeting a few years ago. But I don't see anybody around. I don't know if he still owns it or not. But
Okay.
he was very helpful and gave me permission to go to the cemetery and everything. So I don't know if he's still
Mitchell Farm that we just left, just seen on this tape, was located about a quarter mile west of 108, the intersection of 108 and 105. We brought what road down here? What was the name of this little road that we turned off on? Something Point. Cannon Point?
Cannon's Point Road.
Cannon's Point, okay.
Off of 259.
Okay, thank you.
So this is, you running?
Mm-hmm.
This is the McDaniel Cemetery on Cannon's Point Road, right off of Kentucky 259. The two stones you see in front of you are younger brother of my grandfather, James Henry, and his wife, Mary. And James and Mary are the grandparents of the lady that runs Cova's restaurant in Hardinsburg. And all the other Carwiles that are out here are either descendants of James Henry or John William. There's quite a few of them scattered around in here.
Okay.
This is John W. right here. He was the son of my grandfather's oldest sister. She wasn't married when John was born.
Z and I, what is it? Z and I Carlisle?
Yeah. Probably Z-E-T-R-O. Zetro.
And I.
You're right. You're just kind of roaming.
Robert Mercer.
Teams are.
Teams are.
I believe it's in here. I think it's over there and seems to me like it is. No, I've got two scrapbooks. I've got things that all people that died, you know, that I knew real well, that oh, there's no telling how old they are, but I remember them.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm not no young chicken, though. No, I'm an old lady. Oh, here that picture is, right here. You know, that's on. There it is.
Yeah.
And see on the back of it, it was sent to Aunt Ivy, Mammy's sister.
Mm-hmm.
And then they sent her the picture when it happened.
May 14th, 1913.
Is it a postcard?
Postcard. Yeah.
But did you ever hear from Dale, David?
From who?
Dale, oh, Don Dale.
Darrell?
Darrell.
No, I never did get a chance to write to him yet.
Well, I still never have heard from him.
Yeah. Yeah, the last I knew, I guess he's still in Salt Lake City, Utah.
I don't know. I just wonder. He told me, I got 3 letters from him while he was there. And he told me that he was going back, when school was out, he was going back to Owensboro.
Oh.
So I don't know whether he did or whether he didn't.
Yeah.
But he quit writing to me. I answered every one of his letters and
No, I don't know where he's at.
his wife had left him, you know, and he
Yeah.
wrote to me.
Uh-huh.
He married her boss, he
Yeah.
said. Left her 2 kids. And his boy then was 15, so that's hers been 2 or 3 years, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah, they're probably pretty well grown by now.
Yeah.
Yeah. He had 2 kids, didn't he?
Mm-hmm.
13 and 15. Telephone.
Mm-hmm. Have to make 2 or 3 hitches.
Yeah.
Pretty well done the number, didn't it?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Did.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty good there. Number, that's ours. That shows that it really did burn the
Yeah.
whole town down.
Yeah.
Oh, I put it back in there, maybe I'll remember. And I put it in there. No.
I'm gonna have to see what time it is. We're gonna have to go back up there at, let's see, it'd be 6 o'clock your time, because it'd be 7 o'clock his time.
Oh,
He's on a different
yeah,
time.
you all hour fast.
Yeah.
Do you like that thing?
You just got a nice collection of everything.
Yeah, that, Joe made that.
Oh, nice little corner cabinet.
Yeah. Yeah, Joe made it.
Yeah, we got a little bit more time before we have to go back up there.
Well,
Then when he gets here, why, we'll bring him down.
yeah. That'd be fine. I've got twins, twin babies now.
Do ya?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I remember. Yeah.
Mark and Mildred's youngest daughter.
Uh-huh.
Uh-huh. They've got twins, a little boy and a little girl. They're the cutest things that you have ever thought. Honest to goodness, they are. They're the prettiest little things you ever seen. They're walking now and getting into everything. Oh, poor Julie.
Oh, I was telling them guys about that book you got, about that trial, that colored guy.
Yeah.
They want to see that, if you know where it's at.
Yeah, I know right where it is. It's in my own. I can't hardly get up. I have to make 3 or 4 hitches
Get that,
before I can get up.
get
but I'll
that
find
thing
it.
to working on.
I want to get a shot of that picture up there.
Hmm?
Get a shot of that picture right up there.
Oh, yeah, that was on their 50th anniversary.
50th?
I think so.
I'm going to get a shot of your picture up here real quick.
Oh.
Let me see that. Go ahead. Go ahead. I just want to see one thing in there.
You know, whenever they hung, they made I dressed my kids up and come to town, you know, rolled in a road wagon, come to town to see it. And there was more people in Hardinsburg that time than has ever been before. People from all around everywhere come to see it.
Yeah. All of
You know, that was awful. I now think about it. I was young then. And I just got my little kids all dressed up and come to town too.
It was
And,
probably fascinating to everybody, wasn't it? It was probably fascinating to everybody.
why, yeah.
Yeah, Paul said that him and Dad was up there.
Well, I was up there too. I come with Eli Board and his family. They come to town in a road wagon, and I piled in, brought my kids and come down. We lived on a farm then.
Yeah.
I would no more go to that now.
I wouldn't
in this
either.
world. But people from everywhere
Yeah.
was here.
It's got a picture in the book of the crowd.
Yeah, people, they said that there was people that come in up there at all hours of the night.
Yeah.
You know, away to be sure they would get to see that. You know, that there was so pitiful.
Yeah.
Now, that there was. I think back about that and I think, you know, what in the world did I want to come to town to see them hang that colored man?
Yeah.
I don't know. But I was right up there, saw it. that black thing over his face. Ooh. And he said he didn't do that. On to the last.
That Mabel Downs said he did.
Yeah. Mabel Dow, she's a good girl. She'd still live.
Is she? She's got to be about 90 years old, isn't she? She'd have to be close to 90 years old, wouldn't she?
I don't know how old she is. No, she's not that old.
Ain't she?
I don't think. She lives out here in this apartment house here in town.
You know, she's got a headstone out at Tate's Chapel Cemetery.
She has.
Yeah. It's been out there ever since I've been going out there.
Yeah.
She must have other family there.
She has.
Yeah.
All her family's buried there.
Yeah.
Is it on the inside or the outside? You know, they said that when he died, her brother, they had to bury him on the outside because there wasn't room there.
Oh, yeah. Well, they started another part there.
Oh, they have?
Yeah. Well,
Wow.
there's 2 or 3 different sections out there that is fenced off, you know. Yeah. She's not, her stone isn't in the same place that my grandparents is. It's over in another part.
Probably her parents too is buried in that
Probably.
part
Uh-huh.
where they first started. Well, is it all fenced in good?
Pretty good. It's been cleaned off, I would say, sometime within the last 5 or 6 years, but now it's starting to grow up a little bit.
Well, I tell you, they was boy from here, and then there was a preacher from over the E-Town, and he brought his Sunday school class with him, and they all went around to different graveyards to clean them off. So I heard about it, so I called this guy to see if he would go out there and be sure and clean off the Skillman graveyard. And he told me, he promised me he would, that he was trying to get to where they were, some kind of bugs that was so bad. I don't know what kind it was now, but anyway, they were trying to get to them where there wasn't a whole lot of trees and a whole lot of things there that would draw these bugs. They didn't want to have to work around those bugs. And they were trying to clean off the graves, the graveyards first, that didn't have very many bugs on them.
That wasn't them deer ticks, was it?
I don't know. I don't remember what kind of bugs he told me it was.
Them deer ticks, they cause that.
Yeah.
They cause that Lyme disease.
Yeah, them things, they just eat up trees and everything. They just kill trees. But we didn't have them this time, did we?
I don't know.
No. Well, we had them, but not as many like we always had.
Well, I'm gonna take them down to Glendine tomorrow.
Oh, Lordy. Oh, Lordy. Well, I haven't been to Glendine but one time. And I couldn't believe it. But it was Glen. We had a terrible thing that happened. They lived down Glendine. They were, one boy died. You know, I don't know what he had. He died. And his brother then was mowing the yard and had a heart attack. And they took him out here to the hospital, but he died. And that was a brother. And they wasn't but just about 2 or 3 months of one another.
They live down at Glendine, did they?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, she works at the post office down there somewhere, I don't know where, but she works for the post office.
What, the mother?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, let's see, I think they got post office where, at Kirk? Or McQuady?
Mm-hmm.
Probably down around McQuady.
No, no, it wasn't down, it's closer to Glendine.
Have we
Glendine
noticed
gets
put
the
up?
mail from.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't McQuady,
No, it wasn't quite.
McDaniels?
No, I don't know, it's just I don't know, it's closer to Glendine than it is any other place though. Because the people at Glendine get their mail from there.
Yeah.
Did you read all that book?
No, I just glanced through it so he could get a look at it.
Oh, yeah.
Because we're gonna probably have to be going here shortly, and I wanted
Well, I
him
thought
to.
if you did, you're the fast reader.
Oh, I wish I could read that fast.
Because I know when I could see good, I've read it,
Yeah,
read it.
I sat over there and read that that time I brought Paul down
It's
here.
interesting. It is. It's really interesting. I was getting wrapped up in it, but I didn't want to get too wrapped up in it so he could take a look at it.
I couldn't lay down and go to sleep. Remember that?
Yeah.
That's when I had that surgery.
Mm.
And I couldn't lay down, I couldn't do anything, so I just,
Yes, he just about worried me to death. I thought sure he was gonna die.
sat up in the chair and read.
Oh, Lord.
Well, it wasn't my surgery that was hurting me, it was my back. My back hurt so bad I didn't know what was wrong, but
Well,
it healed up, whatever it was.
well,
Probably a pulled muscle or something that you just bend wrong. You can do that in a night and not even know it.
Well, I think I was probably favoring my,
he was probably, he drove in, he didn't tell me all. He drove in and he oughtn't to have drove in.
yeah, maybe not, yeah. Well, Paul couldn't drive.
No.
If I hadn't drove, we wouldn't have got here.
Well, they come and stayed several days.
2 or 3 days, wasn't it?
I don't know. Oh, there's a fellow that worried me because he couldn't sleep at night and nothing, and
Well, see, I didn't have to go to work on kind of that operation. I thought that'd be a good chance to bring Paul down here.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I think Paul and you all.
Yeah.
But you didn't, did you? Oh, Lord. No, David is really sick while he's here. I fixed him a bed on the floor, and I fixed him a bed on the couch, and I fixed him bed everywhere, trying to get him where he could sleep, but he just couldn't sleep.
I think I slept better on the couch than I did anywhere.
Well,
It's pretty interesting. We got transcripts, whole 9 yards.
Is what?
The court transcripts, everything.
The what?
And the trial court transcripts.
Oh, yeah. I think when they buried him in one of them wicker baskets.
Oh, yeah.
That's what they used to make some of
Yeah,
the
same.
inexpensive coffins out of, just a regular wicker basket. See, they didn't have to use bulbs or anything back then. Just dig a hole 6 foot deep.
Dr. John Kincheloe, have you ever heard how many babies he delivered in his lifetime?
Oh, yeah, you know, they had a big, Dr. John Day, and he put tags on his children, you know, that, and then Robert was a baby, so I took Robert.
Uh-huh.
And I got a tag that was put on him when he was a baby.
Uh-huh.
No, that there was a big day. There was a lot of people here in Hardinsburg.
When did he pass away then?
I don't know, but I've got his picture and his death in there in my scrapbook.
Has it been quite a while ago, has it?
Oh, yeah,
Uh-huh.
yes, it has. Somebody told me just lately now, and I never did hear it before because I don't believe it. Said that Dr. John died with cancer, but I don't think that was right. I think he died with a heart attack because I remember him real well. He was my doctor. And another thing is, I went to his funeral, and he had a heart attack. I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even remember who told me that he died with cancer, but he did not. His son did.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, maybe both of his boys maybe did. I don't know.
Was both of them doctors?
Huh?
Was both of his sons doctors?
No, one of them was.
One of them?
One of them was, he was a, Robert, he was a FBI.
Oh, was he?
But John Allen, he was a doctor. Robert's wife just died just recently, just the last few days.
Is that right?
Mhm. She looked so bad, I went to see her out there in the hospital, and I was in the hospital myself, but I was getting better and was able to get out and walk around out there, and so I went in to see her, and she had fallen off till, well, I just never in my life.
Yeah.
And her daughter was there with her, and her daughter told me that she just won't want to eat a bite. She just drinks, you know, some kind of food, but she won't eat. So she finally died. But I hadn't saw her for a long time, and she lives here in town, but I just hadn't ever, she didn't come to church and or nothing, so I just hadn't saw her for a long time, and she had lost a lot of weight. Have you ever seen anything in there about Miller's yet?
No, not yet. I skipped right to the pictures.
Then they had the heaven crowds when that is. No, Millard was taking off a load of junk out for Howard Hook. They had trimmed up the trees in the courthouse, and he was hauling off the trees for Howard Hook. And he overtook this nigger going out that way, and he had his gun on his back. And that was just a little while before she would got off, when Millard was taking the, you know, selling. And he accidentally told it in the place up at town, and said, well, I saw that nigger going out that way with a gun on his back, and said, I overtook him, you know. He just wasn't, he was driving the truck, and he just went on, but passed him, but, you know, then, okay, that got around. to the right one, and they had Mallard summons.
Yeah.
Then he had to go to court, and he didn't like it. He didn't want to. Had to.
Yeah, you don't got much choice when they hand you a summons.
No, you don't. Because he didn't know that he, for sure, and he did it, you know, like he said. He didn't know that they, all he knows, he just saw the colored man going out that way.
Did Uncle Millard know him, did he?
Oh, yeah. Lord, they said he had a book in his pocket that had 2 more white women's picture, name in that book.
He did. Well, you think we better mosey back up there?
If he decided to leave a little early,
Yeah.
who knows, you know.
Yeah.
We might,
We better get back up there in case he does get in there, and then we'll
Does he
be.
know whereabouts,
He knows where the motel is, but if there's nobody in the office, he can't get in. In our room, you know.
yeah.
Sometimes that woman that runs that, she'll leave, you know, for a while. And if there's nobody there, well, he can't get in. He should be coming pretty soon.
You could take the book with you if you want to and read it.
Yeah, I'd like to.
Maybe they can read that tonight, and we'll get it back down here tomorrow.
Yeah, well, just so we get through back.
Yeah, I'd like to look at that tonight.
If you read it straight through, it don't take long to read it.
you know, I bet not.
No, I was
Well,
trying
you
to.
always, how long have you had that you're working on? With your stick?
That's since I was 13.
He started it when he was pretty young.
Well, all the time. Well, that's terrible, ain't it?
His fingers start going numb, things like that.
Well, okay. Terrible.
Yeah, just don't think about it and go on. It's like anything else.
Well, okay. Well, are you married?
Yeah, well, close.
Close.
Been together 6 years.
Oh.
We're just